If you've ever wondered what it's like to be the CEO of a multi-million-dollar sports management and marketing company, or you've ever wondered what it's like to stand on stage and speak in front of tens of thousands of people, or you've ever wondered what it's like to travel the world, have fun, and get paid to do both, then you're going to want to listen to every single word our next guest has to say on the latest episode of the Lessons Earned podcast. Welcome to the Lessons Earned podcast. I'm Chase Macleod, founder and CEO of Macleod & Co., an industrial real estate brokerage company that in 2 short years has completed over $600 million in transactions with a goal of growing to $1 billion in annual transactions completed. As an only child raised in a single-parent home, I've always had a passion for learning things I was never taught earlier in life. How to make money, how to grow a business, how to be a leader, how to keep the money I make, how to be a better dad, a better husband, and most importantly, how to live a better life. Lessons Earned is a podcast about sharing my journey and others as we dive into all the topics I wish I knew earlier in life and knowing it's never too late to earn those lessons now. David Meltzer, my friend, my neighbor, my mentor, my coach, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it.
I'll tell you, of all the things I get to do, one of my favorite things is to see someone who, number one, I care about personally, but even professionally, create a relationship and then be part and parcel to the development of that brand. And to be here is a milestone that I'll look back on. I have several other people I just went to visit that we started our relationship very similar to you. And some of the Brian Bogerts, Craig Siegels, Jeff Fenster just built a brand new studio, all multimillionaires, very successful like yourself. But it's so much fun to be years into it and people, oh my God, you're the guy that helps Chase Macleod. And I guarantee that'll be the case in a couple of years from now.
I do remember, because you brought it up to me the other day, I do remember like it was yesterday. We were hanging out with our kids and maybe in a somewhat shy fashion, I tugged on your shirt and I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting my own company, and your face lit up and you gave me enough power to run through a wall. And I know that's the definition of a friend and a mentor, and I feel really lucky to call you both. So I want to jump in. You have such an amazing following. You have so many people that look up to you. But what I really want to dig in on today is I really want your insight through the theme of lessons earned. I want to really dig in on some of the lessons that you had to earn as a CEO, as a business owner, all of those things that relates to your family as well. But the first thing I want to dig in on is I'd love if you could share some background on what your life was like when you were the CEO with Lee Steinberg.
It's nothing what people imagine. It was a glamorized stuck. And what I mean by that is that most people dream of running the most notable sports agency in the world. They made the movie Jerry Maguire about our firm. So most frustrated athletes, number one, want to be a sports agent, let alone if you're going to be a sports agent, you're going to want to work for Lee Steinberg, let alone run the entire organization. And so why I call it a glamorized stuck is that sometimes we make business decisions on an emotion without really knowing what it's going to be like. And I see people who want to work in sports, especially sports agents, glamorize the stuck of being a sports agent or running the sports agentry. There were so many things in that business that weren't what I was used to because I'm a very pragmatic businessman. I see things in a different way regardless of emotion. But I did at that time take the job on emotion for logical reasons. I wanted to be around the biggest athletes, celebrities, entertainers, billionaires, millionaires, and entrepreneurs. And so the first thing that I learned was that be more interested than interesting. The same thing my brother told me when I was 18 years old and wanted to be a doctor because I thought doctors were rich. And I had no idea that doctors had to be in hospitals even. And my brother almost fell over when I'm like visiting him, telling him I hate hospitals. And he's like, dude, you have to be in a hospital to be a doctor. I'm like, I'm gonna be a sports doctor. I'll be on sidelines and locker rooms. He's like, you're an idiot. You need to be more interested than interesting. So it was completely a revisit of that lesson because I wasn't more interested than interesting. I went ahead and jumped the gun for the money and the glamour, and I ended up in a glamorized stuck because sports agentry, especially at that time, was just not a good business. You know, talk about making money for your time.
Yeah.
It was even worse because it was a no-win situation. So that's the first lesson I learned. The second lesson that I learned is my favorite lesson, which changed my life, which is be kind to your future self and do good deeds. I utilized the glamorized stock to understand the value that I could derive from a sports agency, which was via the mentorship of Lee Steinberg, via the mentorship of Warren Moon, who later became my business partner in a global sports marketing company. But the idea of being kind and utilizing bug lights to draw in business opportunities, options, and touches of favor in order to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and of course, because it's sports, have a lot of fun. So while I took on via emotion probably a business that wasn't a good business, because of the mentorship and my understanding outside of that business, I learned the most valuable lesson of how to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun using a bug light approach, which I've implemented not only in Sports One Marketing, the global sports marketing company, but over the last 6 years in building my own brand using the same strategy.
Yeah, that's a great transition. So how did you make the transition from being the CEO of a sports management and marketing company? How did you make that transition from that to public speaking, to motivating people around the world? Like, explain to our audience exactly how that transition happened.
That transition happened the same way it's transitioning for you, is the legs feed the lion. Talk about another great sports film, Miracle on Ice.
Yeah.
Herb Brooks, he talks about, Herb Brooks, the coach of the Olympic team. He talks about the legs feed the lion. And one of the things that I knew is the better I got at what I was doing to make money, the more options, opportunities, touches of favor, and the more time I would have to do what I had a greater passion for. So I love to speak.
Interesting.
And I did Friday trainings every Friday for 23 years. And so when I started to look at what other parallels or overlaps in my job, my daytime job, through the travel and all the people that I was dealing with, I started with 100 vlogs. So I took on mentorship. I always talk about, know your who, know who can help you and who you can help. So I was blessed to help Gary Vaynerchuk with his sports agency because that was my skills, my knowledge, and my desire. So he was starting Vayner Sports. I offered my services, and then I asked him for help to build my brand, knowing that if I built my brand, that there would be speaking, coaching, content, all the things that I do today stem from the fact that I was really good at what I was doing yesterday that gave me more time, more opportunity, more money to go ahead and evolve, develop all of those skills. And now the pendulum has transferred over where instead of 80% of my time was being a sports marketing person and 20% was personal brand, it's 90% personal brand and 10% sports marketing.
I think that's one of the most difficult things that maybe individuals like you who have had a really successful career in a segment of business to have the willingness to ask, which I know you talk about very frequently, that one willingness that you had to ask Gary, or the flip side, you offered, right? So I think that's something that stands out to me that I've taken from my lessons with you is having the willingness to ask, having the willingness to bring people in. I want to transition to another thing that I look up to you a lot for. How do you define leadership on a daily basis?
I have a very simple explanation and definition of leadership, and it's being an intelligent follower. You see, most leaders think they want people to listen to them. In fact, most influencers spreading the flu, spreading disease on social media, they want people to pay attention to or listen to them. My perspective of leadership is to understand what people are listening for and to be an intelligent follower. And when I'm an intelligent follower, what happens is I'm building a community of people who want to help each other and know people who can help each other. And what happens inherently when you're intelligent enough to follow what people are listening for, what they need help with. You see, true value is only created in two ways. And people get so confused. You're an extraordinary salesperson. But why you're an extraordinary person, most people don't understand. Those people that are extraordinary salespeople can articulate a quantitative value of two things. One, I'm going to give you more of what you like. Or I'm going to take away some of what you don't like. And have the ability to articulate the quantitative value of that. So it's not just laying in a subjective realm, that I actually can do the math and say, look, if I give you more of what you like, here's going to be the return on that investment. Or if I take away some of what you don't like, here's going to be your return on investment. Therefore, can you see any reason to give me less than what you're going to make? And through what seems to be a subjective matter, utilizing quantitative measurement, I can actually be an intelligent follower by understanding what people like and what they don't like. And in order to know that, I have to learn to understand and know what people are listening for.
Right. As someone who has built companies, as someone who has passionately and sincerely built large groups of people focused on the same vision, talk to us about building culture.
So culture concerns value. And I am religious and routine about my values. And those are the values that changed my life. Remember, I lost over $100 million. And I am not afraid of illuminating what mistakes I've made in the past to save people the most expensive tax that you'll pay in any country. It's called the dummy tax. Forget California tax. I know you were thinking about moving back to Florida or Texas because of our extra 12 or 13%.
Right.
Forget that. What I tried to tell you when you were even thinking about it was, dude, what about the dummy tax that you're going to pay by moving?
Right.
I've already paid the dummy tax, over $100 million of it, by understanding that this is about the lessons learned. And so to learn those lessons and to see through experience how you can help other people, and the values that I have are this. One, very simple, gratitude. You got to have the right perspective. And the perspective that I believe is you find the light, the love, and no coincidence for this podcast, the lessons earned. And so gratitude is everything to me. It's the simplest thing to do. Say thank you before you go to bed. When you wake up, just remember the simple things to do, or unfortunately simple not to do. So whenever something's simple in my life, I raise the awareness to make sure I get the simple things done first, like being grateful. Second, forgiveness. It sounds funny, but all problems and solutions are in one. And how we find the solution or the miracle in a problem is via forgiveness or empathy. The same thing to me. Third is accountability, being in complete control of my life. 3 stages of accountability in the last 17 years have evolved. Being responsible for everything in my life and learning from it, lessons earned. 2, attracting everything I want, people and ideas, and learning from it. And participating in the right perception, which aggregates the gratitude and forgiveness. Then I can live in spirit, shifting the paradigm of effective communication to, instead of going to get what already exists, clearing away what is interfering, what is at dis-ease, or my new phrase, you haven't heard it yet, but this will be the first podcast I talk about it, distraction. So you're either on track or you are on distract. So you're either distracting yourself from what you think you want, or you're on track. And so I help raise the awareness of those values within everyone in my community to create a culture based on gratitude, which gives everyone the perspective. Forgiveness gives you ease. Accountability gives you control. And effective communication gives you inspiration, which is applying your why. So those 4 things create the culture.
Such awesome lessons. As a CEO and a husband, what are some of your non-negotiables with your amazing wife?
Yeah, well, first of all, the number one non-negotiable has changed in the last 5 years. I'm 55 years old.
Okay.
You knew me before I was even 50.
Yeah.
So the number one was family with my wife. And then it was finance or activity I get paid for is how I define it. And it's changed. Number one non-negotiable in my life is my health, is me.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time because I lived in that blame, shame, and justification game all the time going, oh, but baby, I'm doing this for the family. Right. I'm traveling. I'm not treating myself well. Right. I'm not exercising. I'm not eating well. I'm partying for the family.
Right.
Because that's my priority, my non-negotiable. It's you, baby, and the kids.
Yeah.
No, not anymore. My non-negotiable is a minimum of an hour a day, every day on my health.
Right.
Because if you're healthy, you get as many wishes, as many hopes, as many dreams as you want a day. And if you're unhealthy, you only get one wish. And yet I do not want to be rendered incapable with what God has given me, the power that I have, that I've cleared in my life. I want to be able to effectuate it on the second non-negotiable, my family, and then the third non-negotiable, the activity I get paid for. And so I believe that time is the dependent variable of all matter, both subjective and objective matter. So I'm always utilizing time today, a minimal amount of time to prioritize the activities of my day. So those three non-negotiables always get a minimum of an hour a day minimum on my health, minimum 30 minutes with my wife, minimum 30 minutes with my son Miles, who just turned 13, minimum 2 minutes with the three daughters. My daughter Marissa turned 24 yesterday, 21 and 18. And a minimum of 1 minute a day with my mom, which may be the best minute of my life. The biggest change, the biggest impact I've had is to remember every day to tell my mom four things. One, I'm happy. Two, I'm healthy. Three, I love my mom. And four, I appreciate her. And I know you feel the same way about your family as I do mine. And now that you have your children, and if I asked you, would it satisfy you if your children every day told you, Daddy, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I love you and appreciate you? What would that do to your relationship with your children if they told you that? I will tell you, my daughter yesterday, it was her 24th birthday, gave me the greatest joy of being a parent. You know what she told me? She said, Dad, I'm trying not to choke up. She said, Dad, I want to thank you. I've never been more happy in my life. It was her birthday. And I got the birthday gift. She said, Dad, I'm just so happy. And you have a major part in that. I appreciate it. I love you. Thank you very much. If she would have added she was healthy, I would have been completely overwhelmed.
That phone call that you give your mom and that phone call that your daughter gave you, retroactively, you think about, that's what we woke up every day hoping for. Right? And so for them to report back to us in the way that you do with your mom daily, you know, that's a four-way way of saying you did exactly what I needed you to do as a parent. Right? And I just wanted to remind you daily, like you do with your mom, you did good. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. It's what we want as parents.
Regardless.
It's what your daughter reported back to you on.
All the mistakes and the struggles and the things I used to bring up to her and blame her for my unhappiness or my failures, mistakes, and setbacks. Is you both and I were part of a divorced family, or there's a lot of things of why me that could have been involved in, you know, protecting and responsibility. It's truly a joy in my life to remind myself of that.
You know, I appreciate you being able to reflect with you, because I've struggled with the same thing. And I had this grateful epiphany not too long ago. I'm sorry it took me this many years to get to this point, but I reflected on my childhood, which was bumpy. I didn't have the things that I wanted to have financially, emotionally, whatever you want to say. But I reflected the other day and I asked myself, was there ever a moment during that part of my life where I didn't feel safe? And the answer was no. And that's the report that I've been giving to my mom lately, which is, look, you know, the financial part, the economic part, the emotional part, the stress part, like, yes, that was rough. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't picket fence. But I don't ever remember not feeling safe. And when I think about my job today with my kids, puts a lot of things in perspective. Am I doing whatever I can to make them feel not entitled, right? Not anything in that perspective, but do my kids feel safe? And I think when you feel safe, you feel more willing to take some risks. And if you grow up feeling like risks are okay, then the world seems a little more open to what you can do to help it, I think.
Yeah. In fact, the 3 things I tell my children are 3 things I wish I would have heard from my father. Mm-hmm. And I always knew about my mom, although she didn't always say it. She always said she loved me, always said she was proud of me. But the one thing she didn't always say, but she displayed, which meant even more, right? Because it's not what we say as parents, it's what they see or what they hear. Yeah. And I tell my kids every day, every birthday card, everything I write, that I love you, obviously. Yeah. I'm proud of you. Something I wish my dad just once would have said when I was alive. Yeah. And I always have your back. Yeah. The safety side. I let him know every day. Yeah. Because I want him to take those chances. And I want him to know, no matter what you do, I got your back. And very few people live their life knowing somebody. When I went bankrupt and had to tell my mom I lost everything, including her house. Yeah. There's a great illustration or display of how much she had my back. When I said, Mom, I lost everything, I was bawling. I'm like, you're going to have to move. I didn't take your name, my name off of title. Right. They are taking your house. Right. And I'm bawling, right? And she looks at me and said, oh my goodness, are you okay? I'm like, Mom, I don't think you heard you. Maybe you're in shock. Yeah. You got to move, Mom. Right. Only reason I want to be rich is buy you a house. Yeah. And you got to move now because I'm an idiot. Yeah. No, baby, I heard you. Are you okay? Do you need any money? And now, if that didn't tell me, my mom always had my back. Yeah. And that just fired me up even more, that I know I made mistakes. I know I lost everything, but it was just going to take a matter of time and a lot less time than it did in the first time to make it all back, but the right way. Yeah. By doing the right things, my best, learning lessons and having fun.
How would your kids describe what you do today?
Help people, have fun, make money. Okay. It's all branding, right? Yeah. Like, because I've taught them that, it's not the activities. Yeah. Right. What do I do is what I say I'm going to do, which is to empower people to be happy by making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and having a lot of fun. Yeah. And that's what I do. Yeah. I make a lot of money. I help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Variety of different ways I do it. Yeah. And it could change tomorrow, but I'm always going to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Yeah. So you mentioned the last 5 years, but one thing that I think our listeners would be fascinated to hear about is, tell us about your business the 2 years leading up to COVID, right? Yeah. 2 years, March 13th, 2020, those 2 years, right? And then where your business is today. Well, I always looked at my business differently as I got older, into my skills, my knowledge, and my desire. And so what I've always done in my business is, what do I do today? Who do I know? Who can I help? How best can I get it done today? How do I prioritize the activities today? How do I apply my why to the activities I have today in the trajectory of where I think I want to be? So the 2 years up to COVID, Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback, and I had a global sports marketing company that was based off of the bug light approach that I mentioned to you about, because I knew all the biggest names in sports, celebrities, entertainers, athletes, billionaires, millionaires, and entrepreneurs. I would take a bug light of an athlete, a bug light of an event. So my entire business was based off of, let's get Joe Montana to come to the Masters with me, right, and let's have a event to raise money for charity, and we will create our margins by bringing all these people together, right, putting on these events and raising money for charity. Yeah, making a lot of money, helping a lot of people. And we pick the events we like: Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, Grammys, etc. So
and you were just trying to get influential people that already entrusted you in the same room with a bunch of other influential people who may not personally know you, or you wanted to get to know them, but
it was incredible. I did it in a microcosmic way when I was younger at Lee Steinberg. So let me give you an example, because you'll get this in real estate. Yeah. So I would take Marshall Falk, friend of mine,
Right.
and I'd say, Marshall, I have 8 guys like Chase Macleod, young, wealthy, influential, really kind, generous people.
Yeah.
Will you go to dinner with me and 8 Chase Macleods?
Yeah.
And these guys are going to love you, and they're going to hire you to speak or give money to charity or invite you to golf, so whatever you guys do, right? And I said, and you know what, Marshall, if you do it for me, not only I'm gonna pay for everyone's dinner, but not only maybe I'll give you $1,000 cash, just because your time's worth something, man. Sure. And sometimes they say, Dave, come on, dude, I'll be so proud to do this for you. Right. Well, meanwhile, all this money would be made, and guess who would get all the benefits from everyone? Marshall would thank me for going to dinner. The 8 guys would be like, how can we do more business with you, Dave? Can we hire you?
Sure.
And all of this would happen. And I put it to a grander scale. Why is this important? March 13th happens, and all of a sudden there's no Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, or Grammys. There's no celebrities, athletes, or entertainers going to show up anywhere.
There's no events.
And so what did I do? I looked at the skills, knowledge, and desire, and without blinking, I said, I have a podcast. I speak. These things I'm going to do. And I immediately said, I bet a lot of people need my help. This Zoom thing seems cool. I'm going to do my free Friday trainings instead of, you see, I used to do Friday trainings. People would fly in for them, and I'd buy lunch, and there'd be like 100 people. And I'd do sales training or ego training or something. I'm just going to do it to help people during whatever. And so I did it, and literally 80,000 people registered. I didn't have enough room on Zoom, right? And I was like, holy moly. And then of those people, when I did the training, they're like, can we hire you to speak at our company? Can we hire you to consult for us? And an entire business arose because I just looked at my skills, my knowledge, and my desire. And I wanted to help other people and knew that if I provided value, that people would want more value in a more intimate way. And it exceeded my expectations. And look, even my TV shows, like, come on, I never thought I'd be I had done Entrepreneur's Elevator Pitch. I was an executive producer of movies and TV. Just so you know what an executive producer does, they raise money. So, I'm good at that. Right. In fact, the first time Lee wanted me for a movie to be executive producer, I'm like, dude, I didn't go to film school. He goes, what do you think an executive producer does? I'm like, sits in the chair. He's like, no, that's a director, moron. Executive producers raise money. You're really good at that, Dave.
That's so funny.
So I got involved. So meanwhile, I was an executive producer, and then they gave me my first, hosting job. So I got a little bit of TV time. Meanwhile, during COVID, I wanted to teach people stuff, so I created a pitch competition. I got a few sponsors to give some money. Meanwhile, Bloomberg comes out and said, we want the show. Then they took the office hours show that I had. All because I was helping people and I had the skills and knowledge and desire. Today, I have really big TV shows. Apple TV has an entrepreneurial deal with me, Martha Stewart. We both develop shows. If you would have asked me March 13th, Dave, you think someday that you'll be, a star of your own TV show?
Multiple shows. Yes.
I would have laughed at you. I'm like, dude, I raise money. I can raise money for you.
But the 2 key skills that you had that these networks wanted was the ability to raise and the ability to help, which you would spend your entire career
to share my lessons. And I was vulnerable about it. Most people weren't. That was the differentiator is that even people with the same knowledge as me, one, weren't risk takers like me to go ahead and put themselves out there like Gary taught me to do and told me I would do. And 2, they're not vulnerable enough to tell the truth. So their lessons don't resonate and last. When I say something, like I call myself on bullshit almost 99% of the time. I let them know, look, I was a liar, a cheater, manipulator, and people feel comfortable with that.
The term brand gets thrown around a lot, but when I think about your brand, I think about you. I think about you as a person, not something that you created because it was clickbaity, not because you thought, oh, there's no if then statement when I talk to you, Dave. There's no, oh, if I talk about this topic, then maybe I'll get an extra million views on the reels. When I think about your brand, I think about you and everything genuine behind it. For any of our listeners that are really passionately wanting to build their brand, what advice would you have for them?
Take inventory of self. We talk about authenticity, overuse, brand. I talk about essence. And the classic example to me that really fired me up that it would work was Dr. Pimple Popper. And what was amazing about it, I said, okay, if you look at a brand, I'm Dr. Pimple Popper.
Right.
That's her skill. She has knowledge of who and what
Right.
in pimple popping. And it's really a desire of hers. Some people love it. Some people hate it. But it's her desire.
Yeah.
And what she did so well is she took her essence and she started to share her essence instead of with just Newport Beach, 300,000 people in Orange County or whatever. She realized, as I did, that if I capture this, my essence via iPhone or cameras,
Right.
and then amplify it, there's 7.6 billion people that can see it.
Right.
And there's going to be a frequency to this. And the better I am, the more clear, balanced, and focused I am on my skills, my knowledge, and my desire, it'll resonate. It'll have a stronger signal. It'll have a wider reach and a clearer message. And all three of those things will aggregate a bigger community that resonates, that feels what I'm talking about.
Right.
And when I say feel, it doesn't just mean love. People watch Howard Stern because they love him, he resonates with them, and they hate him. Right? And we could say same with political candidates.
Sure.
People watch them because they love that candidate or they hate them. The people that don't give a shit about the candidate or give a shit about Howard Stern, they don't watch.
Yeah.
And so if you understand your frequency, your skills, your knowledge and desire, and you're as clear, balanced, and focused and honest about it, it'll aggregate, it will compound and accelerate. Everyone can have a community. And look, as big as my community is, and it's bigger than I thought it would be at this time, my plan was a 20-year plan. 2 the first year, 2 people that would get me 2 people the first year, 4, and then 8, and then 2 million by the time I was 70. I'm over that now, right? And it's just going to keep doubling. Why? Because I just keep being me. And there's a ton of people that resonate with me, like you, thank goodness. And there's a ton that want to listen to me because what I say is just shocking to them. Like, I can't believe that guy talked about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's me.
Talk to us. This is one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about and fascinated to learn more from you. But talk to us about how you compartmentalize your hours, your days, your weeks, your months, your years, and tell us and give us insight, right, on exactly what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, it's all based off of my calendar. I believe that the past is infinite. I believe the future is infinite. But I know that most people have a difficult time reconciling today with infinite possibilities, probability, and perspective. And so I am a student of today. I'm a student of my calendar today. I don't put any type of nuances of emotion into the activities that I have. I don't define them with judgments and conditions. I know for a fact that all of us share one thing, 24 hours today. And the way that we can maximize that is through productivity of how much value we're going to bring in that activity and the time of 24 hours, accessibility, how accessible we are to others and how are we accessing what we want from others, and gratitude, finding quickly the light, the love, and the lessons in everything, which keeps us inspired. And so I have created not only my values, but daily practices and an execution model based off of maximizing my time. So I start with what takes the majority of the time every day for everyone on earth, and that's sleep. Sleep's the most misunderstood and misutilized thing in the world. So I start with the fact that I want to make sure that I maximize the recovery and access that exists when we sleep. So my tomorrow starts today by unwinding or putting myself in a mental, physical, and spiritual position to access and recover at 9 p.m. Why? Because I know that to maximize my activity today, I need to be 100% a new plateau by 4 a.m. So what I've done is reverse engineered my sleep, notating that I will need a maximum of 7 hours of sleep a day. and minimum of 5 hours of sleep. So by having an unwinding routine and a sleep coach to teach me this for the last 17 years,
Really?
because I travel and
Yeah.
so I need to maximize my sleep. So now I've taken care of maximizing 5 to 7 hours a day by having unwinding routine at 9 p.m., knowing that my body, mind, and soul will tell me whether it passes out at 9:05 and needs 7 hours,
Right.
or passes out at 10:55 and needs 5 hours.
Right.
Determinative of how efficiently I use my time the rest of the day. So now I go ahead and study the activity I had planned. I study the activity I planned because obviously that's prioritized activity. That's not non-time. So now I'm trying to use those lenses, productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, with the activity I had planned, down to goals or objectives of phone calls, for example, are planned activities.
Right.
So I'm very, again, intentional, just like with sleep.
Yeah.
My objective of phone calls is a minimum of 5 minutes with exceptions. My objectives of meetings and interviews and speeches,
Yeah.
right? 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, are there exceptions? Yeah. When your good friend, neighbor, coaching client,
Yes.
all those things
Yes.
said, Dave, I want a little bit extra, but think about it. I'm a block away,
Yeah.
right? Let's be, of course I'm going to do a longer interview. So I'm very flexible,
Right.
but I'm always prioritizing aligned with not only the meaning of my past, but the trajectory or traction of my future.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? Utilizing time, I now look at what's planned, but I also know that there's a ton of unplanned things. So I'm already preparing for God laughing at me, because you come up with a well-developed plan.
Right.
God's going to laugh at you. It's going to rain,
Right.
flat tire,
Yeah.
all kinds of fun stuff in life. So I'm outthinking my time by saying, okay, here's the activity I don't have planned. And I'm studying that white space in my calendar, empty space, to say, okay, if something comes up that's unplanned, here's where it's going to be put or adjusted by what's planned. It's going to replace this. But I already know it's amazing that if you know how to prioritize your day and the activities of the day and your sleep, that you now will always know what to do now. See, the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful thing you can do with your time is know what to do now and do it. 100% of the things you do now get done. So most people don't know what to do now. They don't know what to do next because they haven't studied time.
Right.
And therefore, what do? They feel overwhelmed and they procrastinate. We're feeling overwhelmed, to me, is a signifier of being abundant, that there's more than enough to do. You just don't know how to prioritize. So I've come up with, one example is the 5-20 rule, but many systems that create efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success. The original lesson, which is in my book, and by the way, anyone in your community that wants my book, I will sign it, send it to them, pay for the book and shipping.
Okay.
They just got to email me, put in the notes, david@dmeltzer.com. But the original thing that I did, this is how I became a millionaire. 9 months out of law school, I was a millionaire in the internet, selling legal research online. It's called The Power of 64. And this is the basis of where the student of the calendar, this is where I start off people. And it's real simple math. If you want to be productive, then take the number of hours that people are supposed to be productive and double it. So most people are supposed to be productive 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. This was the standard, especially when I was young, 40-hour work week.
Right.
This is what I was born into.
Right.
So for that, I said, I really want to be rich.
Right.
So I'm going to be productive 16 hours a day. That still gave me 8 hours,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't know as much about sleep back then. So I always said, 4 or 5 hours of sleep. That still leaves me 3 hours not to be productive.
Right.
Now, productive is meditation, working out, cardio, spending time. Those are all productive things.
Right.
But I was going to be 16 hours of productive compared to most people. They're supposed to be 8 hours of productive.
Right.
So I know that the amount of money I can make will be twice as much at the same level of skill.
Yeah.
So then I said, what if I started looking things in this efficiency system thing? And I started with what I did every day.
Yeah.
So I started with brushing my teeth, flossing, and I'm a Listerine guy.
Yeah.
And what I realized when I brush my teeth, some of you may have the same experience, is I daydream. So I forget if I did that part of my mouth. So that took me 6 minutes to do. And I said, I'm going to create a system where I can do it in 2 minutes, saving 4 minutes a day, 28 minutes a week, 2 hours a month, 24 hours a year, giving me 3 full days of productivity. And then I got super excited. What else can I be more efficient at? So the objective was I'm 16 hours productive compared to 8. Now I became 32 hours of productive because of the systems.
Right.
Then I became a professional at what I did. I'm a big enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential practice person. I was going to practice so that instead of doing 1 sale out of 10 calls, I was going to do 2. Now my 32 hours of productivity became 64 hours of productivity. 8 days of productivity compared to the normal person. Then I said to myself, yeah, but why do people say they can only be productive 5 days? I'm going to do it 7. So when people told me I made over $1 million 9 months out of law school, they gave me all these awards, accolades, and all these things. They were so proud of me, and I had a smirk on my face. And my boss said, "What's so funny to you?" I said, "You know what? I didn't even hit my comp plan of 250." He said, "Dave, you made over $1 million in 9 months." I said, "But I worked 11 years." He didn't understand what I said, but I had 11 years of productivity in 9 months because of the power of 64. That was the basis of understanding time.
The name of this show is Lessons Earned. As someone who has built an unbelievable network of followers, people who appreciate you, for our audience, if you had to start from zero, if you had to start with goose egg on every single channel, what are some things that you would do if you had to start from scratch?
To build a community?
Yes.
First thing I would do, I did on accident, is ask for help. I would go to someone like Gary Vaynerchuk. I'd go to someone like David Meltzer. I would go to the person who sits in a situation I want to be in, and I'd ask them for help with what I should do and who can help me that they know. And 9.9% of the time out of 10% or 99% of 100, they're going to help you just by asking. And so the first place I would start is to ask for help. Then I would detach my emotions from an outcome of the community. I would focus every day on literally, with that inventory of my skills, knowledge, and desire, trying to get one person to be an ambassador, not a follower. Somebody that I want to touch in a way, empower in a way that they literally will tell everyone, you need to hire this person, listen to his podcast, his TV show, read his books, go to his coaching, his free Friday training. Just one person. And then I'll try to get 2. And they'll get me 2. And just watch and just stay consistent every single day on that mission of being myself and empowering others with what I've learned or earned. So this podcast to me exactly exemplifies my mission in life, that I'm empowering you to empower others to be happy. And the podcast name, you and your journey, watching you and your business and your family excites me beyond anything else. I walk by your house, and almost every day I walk by, sometimes twice because I gotta get back. And it's funny because I'll hear you sometimes pushing your children in the backyard to be good, right? What I call bringing the best out of them, right? And I'll see, just the quality of life that you live. You'll have, the trainer in, you're working out when I'm going for my jog at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, or, your beautiful family, beautiful cars, beautiful houses. And I sit there and I get more joy than anything else, being a celebrant. And the more, it was one thing just being your friend, but it's even greater now for me because I get to share knowing this unified system of thought that I belong to, that you're part of it, an active part of my unified system of thought. And it brings me, so when I walk down the streets or I see videos of my community, I am a celebrant. I have so much to celebrate in my life. It's incredible.
I don't think it should be a surprise to anyone who already knew you before this show, or hopefully gets to see who you are through this show. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's an accident how big your following has become, because with all the noise everywhere in the world, there's only positivity. There's only you lifting people up. There's only you bringing out the best in people. And I think during COVID, when people may have felt at their lowest, they needed Dave Meltzer. They needed you. And so I'd love share with our audience, if they're not already following you, if they're already reading some of your books or what you've done, just share with our audience where they can find you.
Sure. Well, first, just Google my name, David Meltzer, but email me. You know, I'm on every platform at my name, David Meltzer, like Seltzer with an M.
Yeah.
But I prefer people to email me, david@dmeltzer.com.
Okay.
Tell me what you need help with. I either know what or who that can help you. I have exercises, guides, free Friday training, groups. I have my books and it's all free. If you email me, I say if it's free, it's we. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com, and nothing will bring me more joy than being able to pay the dummy tax for you and for everyone else around so that you can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun, especially today where a lot of people are looking for what they don't want. They're listening to voices and making the wrong choices. When you listen to the right voices, you'll make the right choices. Let me be the right voice to help you make the right choice, which is there's options, opportunities, and touches of favor today. There is light, love, and lessons. You need to surround yourself with the right people and the right idea. This is the time. The margins of millionaires are made now because the majority of the people are looking for what they don't want, and that's what they're going to get. And the people that are looking for what they do want, there's more options than there ever will be before because there's less people looking. Everybody was looking 3 years ago. It was easy. This is when it's really easy if you pay attention and give attention to the coincidences, consequences, karma, and the choices that you want in your life.
If you listen to this show and you're not ready to run through a wall and you don't have a huge dopamine kick, then listen to the show again. David Meltzer, my friend, thank you so much for joining us.
Can't wait for the next time. I can't wait to have you on my shows. Thanks.
I love it. Thanks, Dave.